students are there? Yes, guys, I hope I'm audible. Yes, surely. So let's get started with this week's current affairs news. So one question before I start: have you guys read any current affairs news on your own this week? Nothing? What articles have you read? The free trade agreement India and New Zealand that has been signed, which might be implemented after few months. What else? Last week, anything? You don't read anything. You attend the class, then after the class you read. Acha, so at least for other subjects you might have read. Nothing, you're not doing that as well. See, remember, self-study is going to play a very important role. So you have to read as much as you can. Okay, so few things we are going to see. First is the insurance laws. So there has been amendment in the insurance laws. Insurance laws amendment bill 2025 that has been passed by the Lok Sabha. Sabka Bima Sabki Raksha bill. So Sabka Bima means insurance, of course. Raksha means this protection. So we'll see what all has changed. There are 3 acts that has changed. Let's say the Insurance Act, the LIC Act. We'll see all those things. India's shift to domestic-led capital market. Now we have always seen that there is a discussion wherein if Indians' salary is increased or purchasing power is increased, they will have more of consumption expenditure. In GST also, or in tax cut also, because the income tax has been reduced, so there will be more consumption is what we have estimated. But it is being seen that there are a lot of retail investors in the domestic capital market. So capital market, basically money for longer term that is being taken, it is coming from the domestic savings. So there was a time wherein in 2016, the economic survey has mentioned about 33% of savings, but majority of the saving lying idle in the houses instead of being a part of the financial market. Now we are seeing a shift wherein the domestic savings are now coming into the capital market. Because of which, how it is going to impact that capital market is what we are going to see. One thing is very clear, it's going to have a lot of positive impact. Positive as in it's domestic savings coming into our market, so we don't have to rely on the external investments as such as much as we used to previously. But there will be certain issues as well over here. We'll see that. Then you have the one nation, one port process. It's a small news, but important in the sense that they are trying to ease the business process. So for the ports, there are a lot of concerns. Turnaround time for the ports is high. For a ship, the turnaround time is high. The procedure is different. So a port in, let's say, the state of Maharashtra, a port in the state of Tamil Nadu is going to have different procedural requirements. So different, let's say, different licenses, different permissions, different processes, different documents will be required. So now what the government is doing is coming up with one nation, one port process. Whatever the process is there in Maharashtra will be the process in Tamil Nadu also or Kerala also. Okay? Then the next is the annual survey of unincorporated sector enterprises. Unincorporated sector, basically the informal sector is what we are talking about. The report is not yet out. It will come. It has been just released for more you can say critique, or let's say feedback, or let's say responses from the people. The draft has been made public, but the final report is not yet out. So we will see what this is and what all this talks about. Let's start with first the insurance laws amendment bill. See, what happens is every year the budget comes up with certain let's say promises or certain vision, certain promises in the coming year. And throughout the year, the government then tries to implement what all it had promised in the budget. So in the budget only, the government had promised that presently we have 74% of allowance of FDI in the insurance sector. Under this budget, we are promising that we will increase the FDI to 100%. And to give effect to this promise of the budget, the government has come up with the Insurance Laws Amendment Bill of 2025, through which what they are doing is, it is proposing 100% foreign direct investment in the insurance sector. What is the idea of this or aim? Insurance for all by 2047. It is a very aspirational thing. Okay? Insurance for all by 2047, because the percentage of penetration of insurance is very less. It's hovering around 20%. It's less than 20%. It's 19 point something. It's way less than one fifth also. It's less than 1/5 also. So we are trying to make the insurance penetration 5x than what it is presently. By the year 2047, that means in the next 22 years, 400% growth is what we are looking at. Okay? So what are the key points of this provision? First is 100% FDI, I've already told you. Now this will of course allow full foreign ownership. 100% will be owned by the foreign entity. What is the benefit of this? The benefit is it will attract long-term capital. Long-term capital because more and more will own it completely, so they would want to run it as a business, so they will stay invested. It will give access to global best practices. How will it give access to global best practices? This is an indirect point. So when you have 100% foreign ownership, so they are going to operate it as per their own standards. They will have the full control on operating the insurance schemes, right? So that is why whatever best practices they have over there will be the best practices that it will be implemented over here. Correct? A simple example of this is, for example, the hospitals. In foreign countries, let's say hospitals, you have the life insurance, you have health insurance, wherein insurance, you just simply walk into the hospital, you get yourself checked, you walk out, the insurance takes care of everything. Now, because the insurance takes care of everything that the hospital does is checked by the insurance company. So they will check what all history this person had with respect to the ailments, what were the symptoms when the person came to you, and what you suggested to that person. So if you are suggesting me random 5-6 tests wherein they are not required, that will not be cleared. So the hospital has done the procedure, but that will not be cleared anyhow, because the insurance company will say this was not required. How can you relate these two things? So what will happen is efficiency will come in the system. This is like a best practice of the system, in which hospitals are going to recommend only those tests which are actually required. So in a situation where everything is actually insured and you get paid through the insurance, the hospitals themselves have to take care that they are doing exactly what is required. So like this, there can be various best practices of the world that can come into the country over here, right? Yes, boliye. It depends. It depends what kind of insurance you have. For example, if you have an insurance which gives you a reimbursement, right? If you have an insurance which gives you a reimbursement, then what happens? You as a patient pay it and then you only claim it back. But if you have a complete cashless, let's say you have ICICI Lombard complete cashless, you will have a card, you just present that card number, you get admitted, no questions asked, everything is taken care, you don't pay anything, you walk out of there like that. So anyhow, for cashless, the premium will be comparatively higher. For this, the premium would be comparatively lower. And then what happens in reimbursement is a lot of things might not be even insured, right? Whereas in cashless, everything from the room or to the napkins, etc., you are taking for eye wipes, whatever you're taking, everything might be covered. So it will vary from the type of insurance that you are taking. Okay? So yes, so this is important for your prelims to remember which of the following have been amended. One is the Insurance Act that has been amended. The other is the LIC Act, Life Insurance Corporation, and the other is the IRDAI. Okay? IRDAI is basically the regulatory authority of the insurance sector. By modifying this act, they have sort of given more powers to IRDAI. More powers have been given of investigation by the IRDAI. Okay? Another thing is reinsurance liberalization. Now, what is the concept of reinsurance? There are insurance companies. These insurance companies will also need insurance. They are also insured. So insurance for an insurance company is a reinsurance. Okay, what if insurance company is assuming that if 1 lakh people buy the insurance, it's all mathematical calculation, 1000 people is going to need the insurance, so my premium is going to be X amount, right? As a result of which, this is my operational cost, this is my profit, and this is the amount that I will pay back to the people. But because of pandemic or because of some XYZ thing, it so happens that this number shoots up. So what is there? That's a risk also. You are just estimating that only these many people will meet with road accidents. So if 1 lakh people are insured, only these many people is what I have to give the claim back to. But if more people are meeting with accident due to XYZ thing, then what happens? So the insurance company will also have insurance. So that is what is known as reinsurance. That is what is known as reinsurance. Now here, why are we saying that this reinsurance is liberalized? The net owned fund requirement has been reduced from 5,000 crore to 1,000 crore. I'll explain what this is. Net owned fund. Net owned fund means there needs to be some amount of fund which the insurance company should hold with themselves. Okay, if you look at the banks hold what? Cash reserve ratio with the RBI. They hold statutory liquidity ratio also, so that if there is a need of liquidity, they have money to provide to the people so that they don't go bankrupt. In the same manner, the insurance company need to have net owned fund. This fund need to be there with them in order to ensure that they don't face a situation wherein claims are coming but they are not able to pay it. Right? So this is something that acts like a buffer for them. But this amount of 5,000 crore was considered to be higher. Now they have reduced it. So in one way you can say that the government has diluted the buffer requirement, but in the other context you can say is that they have made the insurance sector more attractive now, because you have to keep less money aside and more money you can utilize for your promotion, operation, or whatever it is. Is that clear? So this is liberalization. Liberalization means any time anything is made less intensive or more lenient, that is what the concept of liberalization is. Okay. So this will of course deepen the domestic market. It will position India as regional reinsurance hub. Basically, we are trying to attract more and more companies to have reinsurance and to make India a reinsurance hub. Now, these words are very aspirational, but see, the government are using these words, so we have to write these words. And anyhow, the timeline for this is 22 years, so you can full-fledgedly start using these words, that reinsurance hub and all that. But imagine a country that has very less penetration, it is quite difficult. But yes, if we liberalize our thing, it is quite possible also, because the population is huge. The market of India is quite big. So net owned fund is the minimum capital buffer. As I said, it's a buffer amount required to ensure solvency and meet the claim obligation. Right? So if suddenly there is a jump in the claims, you should not be waiting to pay back the claims. Okay. Next concept is of policy holders education and protection fund. So this is a new fund that is being proposed. Under this fund, using this fund, you are going to educate the people and educate with respect to give them knowledge what this policy is all about, what it gives you, what it does not give you, how to choose the best possible policies. Promoting all those things is going to be done. Promote insurance awareness and strengthen consumer protection. Strengthen the consumer protection. Sometimes it can so happen that the insurance companies are failing or not able to work or is getting insolvent. So this protection fund is going to help provide some relief to them. Next thing is mandatory compliance. Yes, this is important. Mandatory compliance with the DPDP Act. So even you are allowing 100% of foreign direct investment, but that foreign company has to store the entire data within the boundary of the country only. That is what is the main focus. Focus on data security, informed consent and transparency, and the data should be stored in India for the people. Okay. Next, as I mentioned, stronger powers to the IRDAI. It is a regulatory body, so it will have more powers for ordering search, inspection, seizure, etc. of, for example, the insurance companies. So they have given it more power. Is that clear? Yes, online students, any questions? Next is greater autonomy to LIC. So there is a concept of zonal offices. It is said that now the LIC can open wherever they want, they can open the zonal offices without the approval of the government. So open new zonal offices without prior approval of the government. So when you don't need any prior approval of the government, you can expand more freely. Expansion is going to take place as you do not need the government approval. Okay? Is there any questions here? Yes. What are the challenges that can come? So we have seen all the positive things. What can be the challenge that can come when you are basically having 100% FDI in insurance? Ji boli? Yes. Okay. The foreign companies can gain the market. See, there is also one more thing called as the trust. In insurance companies, you should also have the trust. The Indians have the trust in LIC. LIC still has the highest amount of market share. So trust building in the private sector, that too in a foreign private sector, is going to be quite difficult to build the trust over here for the people. That is one thing, and they might start capturing majority of the market, and whatever the best practices there, it works both the ways. So best practices, at the same time a lot of manipulative practices or practices in which the thing is, the scrutiny takes place. Let's say the insurance company is checking whether the hospital has done the right thing or not. At the same time, it happens in Indian companies also. It is going to basically transact your entire social media. You had some particular insurance, but they caught you that there is a photo of yours smoking cigarette. So sorry, you are now debarred from getting the benefit out of it, because it is a harm that you have caused yourself. And this particular disease that has happened to you is linked to smoking, so you are deliberately smoking for the insurance claim. So a lot of these kind of things, it is there in the insurance market anyhow. But now you will have a private player which is a foreign company. Now that foreign companies are going to have the majority share. Right now, the majority share is of the government of India companies. So the trust factor might be a concern over here. Okay. Next is India's shift to domestic-led capital market. So India's shift to domestic-led capital market. That means these domestic investments are happening now in the capital market. Okay. So this is being said to be a structural shift. This is a structural shift that is happening in India. The domestic household savings are replacing the foreign portfolio investment as the main liquidity. And on one side, you see that the foreign portfolio investments are flying away, but on the other side, there is an increase in the domestic savings that are being invested in the Indian market. One big reason, or the degree of it, they mention, I think they've mentioned somewhere, 71. Where is that number? I don't know. Yes. So how is this boom in primary market being justified? 71 main board IPOs have come. What is a main board IPO? Ji boliye, yes. Main board matlab these are big companies. They already have a very high revenue. So there is a concept of main board IPO and small and medium enterprise IPO. So small and medium, the size is less. Main board means large, or let's say the size is more. So there have been in the year 2025 71 main board IPOs, and through these IPOs over 1 lakh crore of money has been mobilized. Okay? So that is the degree of investment that is coming, and that is a very high level of investment coming through the domestic sources. Surely. Now, because we are having domestic-led capital investments, what will be the positive of this? What is the positive of this? You are not depending upon the global markets, not depending upon the foreign market. Second, it is better to have, even whether it's debt, it's equity, it's better to have a domestic one rather to have a global one, because fluctuation, market fluctuation, slowdown in the economy, so we are less dependent on them. So we will be less vulnerable. So if anything goes wrong in the rest of the world, we are not related to them. We are not dependent. The impact of those vulnerability will be less on India. So reduced vulnerability due to global financial volatility. So we will have reduced vulnerability for that. Now what is meant by this domestic led capital markets? Markets where of course the domestic investors are there. The key participants are the retailers, means individual people who are investing over here. Domestic mutual funds. Domestic mutual fund means the Indian mutual fund players, the Indian mutual fund organization, the Indian fund managers who are managing our fund, and pension and insurance fund are a huge part of it. Because see, if you look at pension fund especially, so some time back the government used to not use the pension fund. Now the government is using the pension fund also to invest in the capital market. Okay? And they are also deliberating on a concept wherein they might think to bring in a market linked pension. Market linked pension means your 10 lakh rupees is with the government you get after retirement. This 10 lakh rupees has been invested in the market. So if there is 20% return on this investment, your pension is linked to that return. Higher the return, more will be the pension. Downside of it is risk is going to be involved. Yes. Yes, it's going on the same. Part of it is linked to it. Part of it is still linked to it. So part of your pension is linked to this, which does bring small amount of risk, but also gives you a profit linked pension. And the remaining part is based on the old conservative method wherein it is fixed. Whatever the government is giving it to you. Okay? Lower dependence on foreign capital, we have seen that. Changing market ownership pattern, yes, this is important. The FPI ownership of Indian equities has declined to 16.9%. FPI share, foreign portfolio investment share in Nifty 50 has been reduced to 24.1%. So this was beyond 30%, now it has been reduced to 24.1%. Domestic mutual funds, now domestic mutual fund year on year they are seeing a record growth over here. Retail investors own nearly 19% of the total equity market. So you can see this is trying to now match this 24.1%. This is the retailer. Retailer means now you have the apps through which you yourself can invest money. This is happening through systematic investment plans, people investing in the ETF, people investing in the share market. So this is on the rise. Whereas this is declining. See, tomorrow this can again rise. It depends upon the market sentiment of the world, right? If the federal bank might lower the interest rate, again a lot of fund may come back to India. If it increases the interest rate, a fund will go out of India. So this is all market dependent, but here there is an increase. Rise of domestic mutual funds. So systematic investment plan, people are doing SIP. It is, people who don't have much clue also are also educated enough. They think not a problem. I don't have to discuss or intellectually be aware of what is share market and all that. SIP is there. I have done SIP of 5,000 rupees every month. 5,000 goes. I do it and I forget. They don't know or understand what it is, but they know it is a kind of saving which generates some amount of return. You have to just put it and forget it. So they are doing that. So there is an increase in this. Long-term and stable investment behavior over here, because see, if there is at a world level, or let's say in the USA market, if there is fluctuation of the interest rate, this retailer is not going to take its money out and invest in USA, right? This domestic retailer is going to stay invested over here. Okay? This is the positive side, but we will see in the negative side, this may not necessarily be a long term. We'll see why that is the case, but here it is long term stable investment because the market scenario of the global world is not going to impact them. Mutual fund act as shock absorbers during global uncertainty. Fair enough. Strengthening the domestic capital formation. We have seen this. Ji boliye. See, again, mutual funds, for example, they also first of all diversify the things. So in mutual fund, diversification is there. That is one thing. Second, this global uncertainty. So if you are investing in the domestic mutual funds that are there, first of all, the managers are the domestic managers, and they might be investing, let's say, in the blue chip government companies. So again, this is domestic. As a result of which, you will be less dependent upon the global market. If you yourself are a foreign indirect investor in another country, that's when global shock is going to impact you. Yes, if you are investing domestically, then it is not going to impact you. This is the degree of investment that we have seen. 71 main board IPOs came in India. They generated 1 lakh crore. See, part of it is also going to be not necessarily retailer. There are FPIs also. There are foreign investments also. But as we have seen, 19% is the domestic retailer which has invested. Okay? So it reflects the domestic investors' confidence in the company. Yes. Capital formation and investment trends. So if you look at, because of this, how much is capital formation happening? What is capital formation? G? Yes, so they are going to, yes, exactly. So this generation of savings that is happening, it is getting stored either in the bank or directly getting invested. Now, because of that, the money is there with the companies, and which is leading to the capital formation of the companies. So this corporate investment, it rose 39% year on year in financial year 25. Year on year means from financial year 24-25 to financial, sorry, this is financial year 23-24 to financial year 24-25. This has been the increase, year on year increase. Nearly 70% is led by the private sector. Okay, indicates rising domestic risk appetite. Fair enough. That means people are ready to take more and more risk. You know, these influencers also are telling us, you are going for a trip which will cost you 2 lakh rupees. Don't go, invest the money. So what we are doing, we are investing the money. And if you look at it, if you look at our tourism chart, so this was the level of tourism before COVID. During COVID, it went down. Now it has started to increase, and we are yet to reach this level. And maybe when the new data comes out of 24-25, we might have surpassed. But see, we took 3 years to surpass the original levels of tourism, domestic tourism that we have in India. Indians going within the states of India. Okay? Anyway, supports long-term economic growth. Okay? Impact on market stability. Yes. So what impact it can have on markets? Domestic savings are patient and long-term. We have seen this. This will reduce the volatility that is caused by sudden FPI outflow. This is also correct. Provide stability during the global uncertainties in the 2025 market rallies. If the markets are declining globally, it is going to provide certainty to us because it is going to detach itself. There are going to be certain issues. Before we do this, let's come on to key challenges. Yes. What will be the challenges in this? What can be the challenge? See, it's a retail investor. Retail investor, yes, it is going to be patient and keep investing. But if a retail investor sees a fall like this, so they can also lose confidence quite quickly. Right? If they see a red arrow, if they see a fall, they can lose confidence also quite quickly. That is one thing. Second, you have IPOs that are coming. The IPOs themselves are being overpriced. Even after being overpriced, they are getting subscribed. Right? But this overpricing of IPO is there. Plus, there are various other fees and charges that are there. There are security transaction tax, etc. All those things are there. When you take all that thing into account, the overall profit that you should earn is going to be lesser for the domestic investor. Right? If you're coming up with such priced IPOs. So you can look at it. This first is valuation excesses. Overpriced IPOs. Right? Overpriced IPOs are causing an issue. Low investor readiness. So our investor, it's also not ready, not aware. Awareness of different instruments is also less. Poor investor returns. As I've told you, overpriced plus fees plus transaction tax is going to lead to an overall lesser return to that particular person. Unequal participation means it is dominated by the urban class. Rural class is not present as such. Okay? And government governance risk, fair enough, this is anyhow there. Corporate governance risk. Declining promoter stakes raises concerns of short-term and value extraction. What does this mean? See, you are having a lot of retail investors. A lot of retail investors are there, as a result of which, if you look at the stakes of the promoters, that is going to decline. Right? Many times in Shark Tank, people come to get some investment only so that they can get that investor on board to support them. Right? So they need their expertise as well. If there is a company which is invested in which investment is completely of the retailer, what is going to happen? The stakeholder involvement, etc. will not be there. It can lead to one, that is more freedom to you, but second, it can also ensure that there is no expertise or additional expertise that is coming to you. Is that clear? Okay. Let's go back over here. Yes, another thing that it does, the domestic investment, it is going to increase monetary policy space for the RBI. Monetary policy space or the open market operation space. See, because investment is domestic in nature, since domestic investment is increasing, so dependence on the foreign currency, on foreign investment is reducing. When that happens, the RBI's intervention over and over again in the open market, etc., is going to reduce, because you're not dependent much on the foreign investment. So RBI's intervention will reduce. That means RBI will have more independence to do what it wants to do rather than intervening every now and then to stabilize the market. Okay? So this is what is meant by increased space for the RBI. Yes.
For imports, when we want imports, we need it to pay it in terms of.
No, see, the RBI ends up making profit of foreign exchange, but reason for RBI to intervene is stability of the currency. Reason is stability. The byproduct is a benefit that we come across with it. So now RBI will not intervene as a necessity, but RBI can intervene as and when it wants. So it's not that it will not intervene at all, but now it can intervene as per its own independence. There will be lesser and lesser of compulsions for the RBI to keep on intervening every now and then. Okay? Next is measures to strengthen the capital market. So we have seen the issues with capital market is lack of awareness of the people. They are not aware about the instruments, right? So they are vulnerable to that. Okay? Overpriced IPOs are there. Okay? So what can be done is stronger investor protection. Stronger investor protection as in, if you are feeling that this let's say the Lenskart IPO was overpriced is what was considered, right? But at the end of the day, still SEBI had approved it. Okay? So there can be more regulatory, if it is fair enough, if this price is good enough, you can go ahead. But if it is being overpriced, this is going to eat up from the profit that those people could have made in the future. So there needs to be stronger investor protection. Protection does not necessarily mean simply with respect to fraud, but what is the actual underlying factors of that company, and based on that underlying factors, what is the IPO price that they are offering. Those things should also be in sync. If they would have started at 250 rupees, now the investors would have been making a lot of profit. They started at around 404, then went down to 396, now at 410. So what is happening? The investor's profit is going to go down. So you need to protect the investor. Expand the financial literacy, of course, deepen corporate governance, data-driven inclusion. Data-driven inclusion, okay. This is what expand the financial literacy means, make the people aware about the things, about the instruments. Deepen the corporate governance, that means the corporate governance should be proper. What is corporate governance? What is corporate governance? Yes? What is corporate governance? Okay, example.
Taxes that we have that
Huh.
The highest of the tax will be correct.
Acha, yes, what is corporate governance?
Governance strategies used inside a company, for example, company laws acting.
Yes, see, the idea is the corporates. A simple example is they should have independent directors. So does the company has independent directors or not? That governance should be unbiased for the betterment of the company. There need not be biasness, as a result of which there is a requirement of 50% of independent directors, right? So that particular policy of 50% of independent directors needs to be followed. If you are having 40% independent directors, it is improper, inadequate corporate governance. Now, how do you check it? See, you on paper, you might have 50%, but that couple of people are actually insiders which are projected as independent directors, whereas they are not the independent directors. So there can be conflict of interest. So things like these should be avoided. Why? Because thousands of people are working for you. the economy is dependent on you. It is not just your profit motive which is at stake. As a result of which these kind of governance, corporate governance things needs to be followed. Okay, next is one nation, one port process. See, these things that the government is using, you should also use in your exams. Some of the things the government itself has come up with: one nation, one ration card, one nation, one election, one nation, one port process. In the same manner, in your answers, you can also give suggestion of one nation, one particular XYZ thing. Okay? These phrases you should also use. Now, what is this one nation, one port process? Presently, for different ports in different states, there are different processes. Right? When you are bringing the material, unloading it, reloading some other material, the number of approvals or the things or the documents that are required, they vary from port to port. Now, there can be single shipper who is dealing with multiple ports, so taking care of multiple requirements, multiple forms. So all that is now going to be done away with. There is going to be one single process. So whether you bring it on the coast of Kerala, Cochin, Mumbai, wherever you want, that's a single process that you will follow. Okay? So single process is what you will be following. That is the concept. So reforming port operation through one nation, one port process. Objective is what? Of course, increase the efficiency, the speed, the cost effectiveness, logistics, everything.
So all this one nation things, are this practically effective?
Practically, see, some of the things are effective. For example, one nation, one ration card is effective. Because if I am in a state from the state of Maharashtra but have migrated, so I should be able to get ration in the state of Karnataka as well. Some of the things like one nation, one election is not necessarily effective. Because when you talk about the elections, the basic premise of the election is to further the democracy. This is to further the democracy. Here, the lookout should not be the efficiency. The lookout should not be how cheaply I can conduct the election. Because if that is the thing, let us have an election for the next 100 years. It will make it more cheap. It's going to have only one time. But why are we not going for that? Because 100 years is a very long period of time. In that meanwhile, what you will do to me, I don't know. That means the state will be without any elections for 100 years. So efficiency is not the primary thing over here. Democracy is the primary thing. So here, if you have the parliament elections plus the state legislative assembly elections plus the urban local body elections all together at one, it is very difficult for an average Indian citizen to understand which government does what and which issue I should take into consideration for voting for which particular tier of the governance system. Right? As a result of which this should be separate. That's point number one. Point number two is we should be moving towards recalling of the sitting MLAs, MPs and the local body officials rather than fixing them for 5 years at every level of the, and you see that some amount of development or benefit or they come to you and listen to you when there is election. So in 5 years, 3 times people are coming or the ruling people at 3 different tiers coming to you and asking what is your issue. Here that is going to happen only once. Fourth thing is that they are spending more than what they should with respect to the criteria of spending 70 lakh for a member of parliament seat, for example. So until and unless that is being very transparent and we realize that yes, everything is transparent, everyone is spending 70 lakh, still the country needs more money, now you can go ahead and have this. But till the time that transparency, so the onus has to be on the people in power. They are not people in power, the people in job or service who have to provide services to us. So onus should be coming from them. At the same time, another argument is the model code of conduct is in place when there are elections, so you cannot come up with new schemes. But the concern is there are already pending schemes of which funds have been not transferred. So how can you come up with a new scheme without transferring the fund of the previous schemes which are already open? So then what happens is these new schemes become like a dole or a freebie to the people for the election. And anyhow, if there is an emergency situation, pandemic-like situation wherein the government has to provide something for free or medicine or something for free to the people, there can always be an executive order, a court order to immediately start doing that, disregarding the model code of conduct. And anyhow, in such an emergency situation, anyhow, the election may also not go ahead with. This is also going to lower the influence of the regional political parties. That is also a possibility. So there are a lot of harms to the democracy. There is not a single benefit to the democracy. The benefit is only in the efficiency with respect to monetary thing. And maybe they are saying governance because the entire country would not come in on a standstill. See, anyhow, the entire country does not come under a standstill because it takes place in phases. So maybe you can increase from 3 phases to 5 phases so that it is more of a dynamism involved. So you have, it depends as to what is good or what is bad. But the government is pushing for it. The government is pushing for it since over a decade now, right? So when we write it in exam, we can make these points in a very subtle manner, and we also have to talk about the positives that the one nation, one election is going to bring in. This, on the other hand, is a good thing, wherein all the ports are there. It is going, what you do is you basically bring in, so this is one port, this is one port, this is one port. I am the central government, I have certain 10 requirements, you all have 10 requirements each. I realize what are the common requirements that are there. I club it up, it comes under one piece of paper, and there are certain requirements which I have to definitely keep, which are good practices for your port, but there are certain redundant things that you're keeping. I can do away with it. It's just that everyone is going to follow the same policy, the same process that will be there. So it is expected to cut 33% of port related documentation. It's going to reduce the port related documentation. It is an initiative of course, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. Now, since it is directly linking with the name of the ministry, you don't have to remember it. In prelims, when it will come, you will easily guess it. This is important. It applies to all the major ports and selected minor ports. So in the questions, you may be said that it is applying to all the major ports only, or all the major and minor ports both, right? But the right thing is all the major ports plus some selected minor ports as well. Okay. What is the aim? The aim is to standardize the documentation, the approval process, the operational workflow. Okay. It will eliminate the port-wise procedural variations, any variations which were there, which will be taken away. See, this is only going to reduce your procedures and documentation. So tomorrow, let's say previously, if you have a room full of documents for 1 month, you might have just 66% of the room that is filled. That is all it is going to do. It's going to make it a bit easier. But for having better operation, you also have to ensure technological advancement of the ports and the functions and the operations of the ports, wherein you use, let's say, magnetic levitation kind of technology, wherein if these boxes are there, this crane is going to come, it is going to have an electromagnetic, the moment it comes over it, it gets joined, it lifts it and places it somewhere else. You don't have to manually keep on doing these things. If you manually do it, the turnaround time is going to be very high. And anyhow, till the time your ship is here, because of the high turnaround time, whatever process you have, you can do it 2-3 times. Right? So the idea is, by this you are lowering the documentation requirement, you are lowering the time required for the documentation, but the ship and the ship personnel are going to stay back on that port for anyhow for 2 to 3 days. So what is the use of that? Right? You got the point. So the point is basically, if this is the outlet pipe, you have increased the size of the outlet pipe, but here the pipe is still smaller. So this pipe is going to bring in very less amount. Even if the size is big, it's still less amount is going to come. So you have to increase the size of the pipe behind it as well. Right? So you have to increase the turnaround time, improve the turnaround time of the ships as well. Okay? Key features, uniform procedures. It's just a repetition in that article as well. Reduction in the manual paperwork, duplication, fair enough. Seamless electronic submission, ship related info. Okay, this is all going to be electronic. So this is good. It supports the ease of doing business report. Ease of doing business report is brought out by whom? Huh? WTO. Yes? WTO. Are? Yes. Yes, I mentioned in my class, World Bank used to bring ease of doing business report, but it has stopped because of allegations of collusion with the countries and the World Bank. And now it comes up with the Be Ready Index. Be Ready is basically business ready index. It has very less countries so far. India is not a part of it. In future, there will be more than 150 countries wherein India will be a part of it. Okay? Then you have the concept of National Logistics Portal. Portal means it's an online portal where you can log in and get all the details. It is also known as Sagar Setu. Sagar means sea, Setu means what? Bridge. Ram Setu movie. So the bridge that was made by Lord Ram. So that is Sagar Setu here that we are talking about. Okay, what is this? This is of course a centralized platform which has the ship related, the details of the ship also, the details of the cargo also, everything is going to be digitized and centralized, maintained over here. Okay. Upgradation that is going to take is paperless workflows, faster approvals, clearances, real-time data sharing among the stakeholders. These are very generic benefits that will come when you digitize anything, when you centralize anything. This is the normal thing that will happen. If tomorrow you digitize something else, what are the benefits? Paperless workflow, faster approval, real-time data. So this is a very generic statement that is there. Improves cargo handling efficiency, but make sure in your answers, or if there is a demand, you talk about the turnaround time as well. You know, if you are asked to critically analyze, you can talk about. However, it does not impact the turnaround time of the ship as such, which is quite high in India, for which technological advancement can be done. Okay? Turnaround time will be reduced only when there is very high efficiency ports which are requiring, let's say, only 1 day or close to 1 day. That place, fair enough. But if the days are 2 days turnaround time, then that's a problem. Okay. Broader impact on economy, global competitiveness, global trade competitiveness, it is based on the global best practices that are there. Other ports have all the data digitized, so we are also doing that. Procedures there are simple, so we are also doing that. Okay. Let's come on to the last one, that is annual survey of unincorporated enterprises. What's an unincorporated enterprise? Yes, Akshata, what's an unincorporated enterprise? Basically informal. Unincorporated, not incorporated under any law. Okay? So this is unregistered or an informal enterprise. So the annual survey of the informal sector enterprise has taken place. It has been conducted by the National Statistical Office. What is the previous name of NSO? Very good. It was previously known as the Central Statistical Office. It is under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Okay. So the draft has been released for public consultation. So you can view the draft and you can give your feedback as well. But don't waste time on that. Okay. What is this? This is an annual survey. Of course, these are prelims related facts conducted by National Statistical Office. Now, what does it measure? Okay. It measures operational and economic parameters of unincorporated organizations. We have seen that. But remember, it takes into consideration only the non-agricultural enterprises. That means the agricultural enterprises are excluded. Agricultural enterprises are excluded. It's a recent phenomena. It has been done since 2021 and 22. Just 4 years back, it has started. Yes, unincorporated means, see, you are not registered. When do you become a formal organization? When you are registered. You are registered as an LLP, as a private limited, as an MSME, right? Anything you can be registered as. So if you are not registered, it's unincorporated. That means unregistered. That means informal sector, right? It has nothing to do whether you are paying tax or not. You can be registered, still not liable to pay tax because there is no profit only. These are two different things. Okay. Coverage. So it covers manufacturing, trade, other things. Basically, it is excluding agriculture and construction and covering all the other things. The construction is also excluded over here. What is the
grounds on which construction is being excluded?
See, construction. See, if you talk about the construction, so unincorporated, we are talking about the unincorporated. Okay, since it is unincorporated, it is the construction sector is even more difficult to take into consideration, because in construction what happens is there is construction here today, there tomorrow, it's not there. Construction is very shifting. People are migrating. People are not even there at one source. So it's very difficult to estimate that. If you talk about the unorganized sector, there are unorganized sector shops, but still they are there on permanent basis. So it's easier for us to do it. That is one thing. Second, agriculture is not taken into consideration anyhow because this is a separate entity. There are different surveys for this. But construction, because construction is a thing which is not at the same place at every single time. There is a very much difficulty in calculating or talking about the construction unincorporated enterprises.
Labor working in that, aren't they the most unorganized or unregistered?
So there will be there. See, you have annual survey of industries. In annual survey of industries, you will have every 5 years. This is a very recent phenomena wherein you are focusing on that. Annual survey of industries every 5 years are going to take into consideration the construction labors also. Yes, of course, it's not stagnant, but the idea is there are other surveys to take care of this. So you are concentrating only on these things, that is manufacturing, trade and others. Manufacturing and trade is the major core and other sectors that are be there, but construction is excluded because of this particular reason. However, in the annual survey of industries, construction workers, their labor force participation, workforce participation, everything is included in that. Okay. Yes, key data, what they take into account first is the employment size and the workforce composition. So there is a concept of workforce, labor force. What's the difference between the two? Supreet? Yes. Workforce and labor force.
Workforce are the people who are capable of working and taking it's a broader term. Labor force are the ones who are working.
It's the other way around. Okay. Workforce. So workforce, remember, you are working, you are a part of workforce. Labor force is a superset. Okay. So labor force is the people who are able to work, willing to work, looking for job, not getting job, plus the people who are already in job. All that thing. And workforce is simply the people who are actually doing job. That is why labor force minus workforce gives you what? Unemployment. And if you divide by, very good, if you divide by labor force, not the total population will have 1 month baby also in it. Okay? So divide by this and you multiply by 100, you get the unemployment rate. Okay? It takes into consideration the gross value added. So it is estimated, that around 50% of the value of GDP is under the informal sector. See, first, there are two data over here which is important. 90% is the informal sector in India, right? That means only 10% sector is basically the formal sector. 90% people are working in informal, 10% people are working in the formal sector. This 90% amounts for about 50% of what India's GDP actually is. Okay? So this is a huge number. Now, the policy relevance of it, of course, when you find out the data of how much gross value is being added, who is being employed, how much is the employment, so you can make policies for them. So it will going to support the evidence-based policy making. So you have to make policy for the unorganized sector. You first need to know what is the quantum of that unorganized sector, how much they are contributing, so that you can decide how much it is okay for you to spend on their development, on identifying or regulating it, what you can and cannot do. That will lead to basically evidence-based policy making. It is already, of course, used by certain ministries, MSME, textile, labor and employment. So for the unorganized sector also, evidence-based planning you can do. So it is going to help design the welfare scheme, credit access, formalization strategies. What should be the formalization strategies? Because see, with this you can calculate if it is contributing 50% of the GDP. Imagine if you start taxing them and everyone starts paying taxes. Of course, those who are eligible. So from that you have to find out how much or how many of them are actually eligible. So let's say the eligible people are the ones which contribute around 20% of the GDP. So you can assume that around my revenue is going to increase by around 20% of the corporate revenue that is there. So if my revenue is going to increase by 20% of the corporate revenue, so how much incentives I can give them to formalize? right? That is the idea. Okay, so for example, if you are here to subscribe to the coaching, I know that you might be enrolling. So when you enroll, how much money you will give? That, keeping that in mind, is the amount of time I'm going to spend on you. So if there are 10 students, how much time of mine do I spend? It's all right if the entire institute spends around 10, 15, 20,000 as well, in order to, out of that 10 students, to enroll one particular student. That is exactly the point over here. That is just to enroll you. Of course, after you come, servicing you is a different thing altogether. That is the majority of the cost, right? Major source of course, it is the major source of informal employment, provides, this is, what is this? Non-agriculture sector. Major source, the article has mentioned major source, but we know the major source of unorganized sector employment is what? It is agriculture, because 45% of the people are employed in the agriculture. But if you take into consideration the non-agricultural sector, then yes, then this is going to give you a good employment data. This is what I've already talked about. Over 90% of India's workforce is engaged in the informal sector, as a result of which very critical for inclusive growth of India. Importance of this sector, this is I think this is a repeat. Significance of governance and planning. So when you do planning, you can focus on employment rate, unemployment rate, actual what it is, what is the actual per capita income each individual is earning, how many people are actually below poverty line or not below poverty line, because these people in the informal sector getting payments in cash are going to be under what? Under the BPL, right? Under the below poverty line, right? But they might not necessarily be. So it can also help the government to rationalize its policy. For example, right now we are giving cheap food to 66% of the people. It might not be required also. But again, the issue is, it's just a hypothetical situation that it might not be required. The other thing is possible that it is still required. But yes, if we have evidence, we can actually rationalize our policies as well. What we should also do is, there is a concept of randomized control trials. Randomized control trials. What is this? Randomized control trials. I think under randomized control trials, our NFSA will be completely ineffective. Randomized control trial is, what you do is, you select, let's say, 1,000 poor people, right? Randomly, out of these 1,000 people, randomly you provide 500 people with the government benefits, and the remaining 500 you don't provide them the government benefits. This is your controlled population. This is the random population to which you provide the benefits. See for a quarter what happens. Is the government benefits are helping them come out of poverty or not, right? And you can provide them different benefits and see how this is like an experiment. This is like a sociological experiment. So you provide NFSA, you don't provide NFSA, see what happens. Are they able to come out of poverty? If they are not, you use different schemes, different methods, different kinds of dose, different kinds of benefits you keep on providing, so as to realize which kind of benefit or scheme is working well. That is going to get you out of poverty. Okay? So this is the concept of randomized control trials. Abhijit Banerjee's randomized control of trials. Abhijit Banerjee is a person who has won Nobel Prize in 2019. Okay? His concept is this randomized control trials, which is a very good concept to find out the efficiency. Okay? Any questions?
With regards to the insurance, the capital FDIs in capital
Okay.
markets, in the domestic market induced capital market going up from the domestic
Okay, yes.
investments. So back in November, we also learned about how RBI came out with a report saying the ODI investments from India is increasingly going above than the FPI investments that we have in India.
Okay.
So alongside this, we also see overpriced IPOs coming out at the same time.
Correct.
For subscriptions happening. So what is the guarantee that the money put by the retail investors in the domestic market would go for capital formation or asset formation for the company rather than being sent to the proprietors, or is there any
Exactly. That is of course not a guarantee, especially yes.
from the paper as well, a week back, which stated that the money is sent in this because the
Correct.
end up putting it just purely based on emotional aspects.
Correct.
And thus the money goes to the promoter and then does not become of any influence.
Yes, it may not necessarily lead to capital formation. That is correct. So that is one risk which the retail investor bears. So his point is basically these retail investors are investing so much, but then you have the overpriced IPOs that are there, which is anyhow lowering the returns that these people would have earned. Right, your IPO would have been 300, right now it's trading at 400, so there is already a 33%, 33.33% benefit that they have had. But you came up with an IPO at 400 and it's hovering around 400 and it's been 2-3 months, so there is not much of profit that is accruing to the retail investor. At the same time, they are not much aware. They just see one particular person sitting on Shark Tank who is wearing a specs and is of lens card. You feel that's the only person, this is to whom we are giving, and then they are giving motivational speaks, but there are a lot of other people involved. Many times the stakeholders are also going to be foreigners. So what is going to happen is sometimes these sponsors or investors that are there, they are also going to take out money from that particular company. So what happens? The money that came through the people is not being utilized to buy machinery, technological expansion, technological advancement or expansion. So no capital formation. When there is no capital formation, the underlying numbers of the company is not going to improve. And the company is already always going to have an exaggerated number. And tomorrow if the company goes bust and you have to return the money, whatever is the case, you are not going to get these 400 rupees. Then the valuation of the company is going to happen, and based on that you might end up getting 200 or 300 or 150 rupees. So this is a huge risk, as a result of which these kind of things needs to be regulated properly. I think we discussed that stricter regulation, right? But the issue here is it's the SEBI that had given a clean sheet to go ahead. So there is a need to basically have a stricter guidelines over here and try to keep it as close to the actual valuation of the company as possible based on the numbers that the company has. Not a few, because see, future is now changing even more fast.
The rates of the company or the valuation of the company also tends to go up based on the investors who are coming in. And mostly
Yes, that is also.
back.
So all of this is what? Sentiment. This is all a sentiment. So if there is a sentiment, so what had happened is one person alone had invested 90 crore rupees. So people started saying that this is an amazing investor who has invested 90 crore. People are not able to comprehend that 90 crore for that person is peanuts. Right? So again, what is this? This is also sentiment. And the awareness of the people that these investors will throw 90 crore rupees on 10 different companies. They just want one of them to work. So just because the investor is throwing 90 crore over here is not meaning anything. The most important thing is the fundamentals of the company. Okay? So with the fund that the government is going to start for creating awareness to the people, this is very much necessary, because there is no, because at the end of the day, the retailer will be at risk and the retailer will bear the cost.
So in this context, is it advisable for the Indian retailers to invest in the domestic market or again follow the overseas markets?
See, if this is, see, market advice, if you see.
With regards to this problem that we talked about, what would be the best?
No, so overpriced, if you have a hint of overpriced IPOs, yes, that is not advisable, because at the end of the day, you will bear the risk. The investor will take its money and go away, and you will be left with very low share prices.
So it's okay to have a diversified.
Yes, absolutely. You still have to have a diversified portfolio.
Diversified portfolio in sense having a domestic market investment as well as the.
Yes, domestic market investment only with respect to the fundamentals where it is clear. Or if you want to take a risk, but risking overpriced IPO does not make sense at all.
The reason I bring up this topic is with regards to that report which had come by the RBI in the month of November, wherein they stated that they flagged it as a problem.
Yes.
The money from India is going to overseas and the FTA is reducing.
Correct.
So in that context, would it be again advisable with regards to all of this? Would it be advisable that we continue forward?
Yes, coming on to that, yes. So that creates a paradox. So his question is, the RBI is having an issue that the money is flying out, right? So what should we do? So this is a paradox. What is this paradox? This paradox is like the thrift paradox. Like the thrift paradox, what it says is, something might be good at a micro level, but it need not necessarily be good at a macro level. For example, you saving money is good for you at a micro level. You have saved money every month, you're saying 50,000. In 1 year, you have saved 6 lakh rupees, let's say, with you in your house. Now, for you, it might work, But in the economy, at the macro level, what is happening? If everyone starts doing that, that is less money in the market, less money, less rolling, less economy, less activity. So the market is going to come into recession. It is going to lead to unemployment, recession, GDP will decline, all those things will happen. So something that is good at a micro level was not good at a macro level. So when we are saying that RBI is saying, boss, our money is going out of the country. See, anyhow, there will come a point wherein our money will start going out of the country. When our per capita income increases, GDP, everything increases, then when we become also rich, our money is going to start going outside. Now, if you look at the micro level right now, so if I am getting a more stable avenue to invest outside, better returns, more stability, yes, at a micro level, that is good for me. At a macro level for the economy, it is not good. Okay? So in your answers, you can mention the paradox. It is in line with the thrift paradox, wherein certain things can be good at the micro level, but not at the macro level. So as an investor, at the micro level, you may, micro means the consumer, the individual's level. At the individual level, you may get some positives or benefits of the stability and the returns, but at a macro level of the Indian economy, there will be a flight of money outside, which is not going to help. So this is what is going to be about. Okay? Is that clear? Sure. Let's solve these questions. Yes. Let's see who answers first and correctly. Yes, simple questions with reference to one nation, one port process. It is a reform initiative of the Ministry of Ports and Shipping and Waterways. Yes, that is correct. Second is what? It applies only to major ports and excludes. This is incorrect. So when 2 is incorrect, you get the answer 1 and 3. ASUS, it measures economic and operational parameters of unincorporated non-agricultural sector. That's correct. Includes agriculture. This is incorrect. It collects data on employment size. Yes. So 2 is incorrect, and then 1 and 3. Next, with reference to challenges arising from India's shift towards domestic-led capital market, rapid entry of retail investors with limited financial literacy increases vulnerability during the market corrections. Yes, market is inflated, it's going to correct, they are going to panic. Okay? Dominance of active mutual funds despite low post-fee returns affects small investors' outcomes. See, this was not included in the discussion that we had. Let's see, 1 is correct. So since 1 is correct, these are the options. Third, concentration of equity ownership among urban and higher income households supports inclusive growth. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. Third is incorrect. So now we are still left with 2 options. What is this? Dominance of active mutual funds despite low post-fee returns affects the small investors' outcome. What do you think? Not getting it? See, what is the thing is, the retail investors is investing a lot, but it is not getting any return. But still the proportion of retail investors is increasing only, right? So the dominance of active mutual funds, despite low post-fee returns, it is going to impact the small investors' outcomes. Why small investors' outcome? Right? The platform fees, this, that, everything at a smaller level is going to impact them a lot. Right? Diversification also is going to be less. So they are the ones who will be impacted the most. So 1 and 2 both are correct. Last is with reference to Sabka Bima Sabki Raksha, the Insurance Amendment Bill 2025. Consider the following. It proposes to raise the FDI from 74 to 100. It reduces the net owned fund requirement for foreign reinsurance branches from 5,000 to 1,000. It mandates prior government approval for LIC. No, this is incorrect. 1 and 2 are correct. Okay. If you just read one news and then solve an MCQ, it becomes easy. Then when it becomes a sea of knowledge, then when you solve, it becomes really difficult. So if you remain patient and control your nerves and concentrate, it should be as easy as it is right now. There what happens is you panic. So please practice in order to ensure that you are controlling your nerves. Okay? Shaliya. Thank you guys. See you in the next class.